All right, joining us live, as he does almost every Tuesday morning at this time, is Dr. Isaac Bogoch, infectious diseases specialist at Toronto General Hospital. Dr. Bogoch, good to talk to you this morning. We do have to talk about West Nile, though, because we're hearing more about it lately, whether mosquitoes are testing for it, also human cases. And of course, lately in Toronto and the GTA, we've seen a ton of rain. That's leading to plenty of standing water, aka breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So A, what's your level of concern? And B, what can we do about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see West Nile usually in the summertime, usually later in the summer. There's already reports of some mosquito populations testing positive for it. Ottawa, just down the road, had their first human case identified this year. We know we're going to see it. It can, it's sadly a fact of life in summer in Ontario. It's a mosquito-transmitted infection. People who get it, most people who get it actually won't have any symptoms. About 20 to 25% of people who get this infection will have a fever, they'll feel crummy, they'll have some muscle aches and pains, they might have a headache, and it's a self-resolving illness. The key thing here is less than 1% of people can get a very severe illness. It can cause inflammation of the brain. It can even cause a paralysis-like syndrome. Again, it's very rare, but it certainly can happen. And we see rare cases of that in hospital. But the key thing here is prevention. It's the best to prevent mosquito bites. We've got insect repellent with DEET or Icardin. These products are widely available. You can wear long sleeves and long pants. That's not always practical when it's extremely hot outside. And you can prevent freestanding water around your home, which, as you pointed out earlier, are breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So simple ways to prevent this. Yeah,
there is so much water still. The Worth is just like saturated. Okay, let's talk COVID yet again, which of course is a big reason we brought you on over the years. But we talked a few months ago, Dr. Bogoch, you and I had a conversation about how the province is getting rid of wastewater testing because it duplicates what the federal government is doing. You seemed okay with that. But it's interesting right now because the provincial testing is going away as we're seeing kind of a summer spike in cases here. More cases being compared to numbers in winter, something like 400 hospitalizations, et cetera. Kind of what's happening, because in summer we don't expect to hear this when it comes to COVID.
Yeah, so let's take a step back for a second. Certainly we know COVID can circulate and does circulate at all times of year. We see more of it in the fall and winter than we do in the summer, but we certainly do see it in the summer. And in fact, we saw plenty of it last summer as well as we're seeing it this summer. I think to your other point, I'm obviously a big fan of transparency and surveillance and ensuring that people can make informed decisions based on good data. The more data points we have, the better. That includes more wastewater surveillance and rapid transparency of information in terms of hospitalizations and deaths and other metrics related to COVID. And yeah, there certainly is more COVID this week and last week than there was, 2 and 3 and 4 weeks ago. So those wastewater signals are up. More people are getting this infection. Is it as bad as it was in the winter? No, it certainly isn't. But I think it's fair to say that there is COVID out there and people should be aware of it. And we know the tools to prevent this, right? We can put on a mask in an indoor setting. We have vaccines that reduce the risk of severe infection. They still reduce the risk of infection, not nearly to the same extent as they did earlier in the pandemic, but they do for a little bit. Unfortunately, that protection doesn't last as long as it once did. And again, people should be aware that this is out there and they can still get it even in the summer months.
Just quickly on this, are we still seeing a lot of variants of COVID, or are we still getting all the .2.0 and IXB or all this? Like, is that still happening? Is it still mutating?
100%. Yeah, it absolutely is. The virus continues to mutate as it always will. Now just some inside baseball, it's a more technical terms. The one we're seeing is KP3. This is all under the umbrella of Omicron. Right. So yes, the virus is mutating, the virus is changing. Some people who are, acutely aware of this will stay up to date on what the most recent circulating strain is. But again, it is all under the Omicron umbrella. And I think nothing really changes in terms of how we protect ourselves. How do we create safer indoor environments and better air quality and whatnot?
Okay, another story making headlines yesterday, a baby cereal recall over possible exposure to Chronobacter. It's a word I'd never read or heard of until this recall yesterday. What's the deal with Chronobacter and what are the dangers here?
Yeah, so like anything else, unfortunately, our food supply can get contaminated with bacteria. There's this sad report of Chronobacter in baby cereal. We also hear of Listeria in some of these milk products. And again, these can cause gastrointestinal symptoms and in more severe cases, a sepsis-like syndrome. It's just important that people recognize that this is out there and remove those products. And, there's that old line, when in doubt, throw it out. If you're not sure, best to throw out the product. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, don't take the risks on those. Yeah, like you said, those plant-based milk products you talked about with Jen last week and now the cereal this week. Just get rid of them. Okay, Dr. Bogoch, we've got to go. Thanks for the time as always. Appreciate this, and we'll see you next week.